Built between 1849 and 1862, the mainline railway, later christened the Waverley route, stretched nearly 100 miles from Carlisle in England's northwest to Edinburgh, the Scottish capital. Along the way, it threaded through Hawick, Galashiels and many other smaller communities. Closed amid controversy in 1969, its architecture, presence on the landscape and memory lingers. So let us explore what remains and what there is to rediscover of this lost line. Carlisle, sometimes called Carlisle Citadel for its brooding castle, still basks in the early sun, its neo-Tudor grandeur intact. In steam's heyday, variety was the rule. Locomotives of every lineage once thundered through. Today's trains, sleek and efficient, glide away with less drama, if far less character. From here, Edinburgh-bound services once surged north across the River Caldew, then swung westward, a curve still etched into the woodland below. There, beneath the trees, lies the ghost of Port Carlisle Junction Station. Opened in 1863, it welcomed passengers for scarcely a year before fading to a mere crew point, rarely used even for that, yet stubbornly surviving until the line's demise. Equally silent, yet more dramatic, is the bridge over the River Eden. Sealed to the public now, its story survives in flickering cinefilm, offering a nostalgic sense of what it was to cross. Encircled by the Kingstown Industrial Estate, this stretch of the trackbed has surrendered to nature and is reborn as a reserve. It brings us to Parkhouse Halt. Once a wartime necessity, opened in 1941 to serve the RAF Kingstown Depot. Today, the scene seems bare, yet traces endure. The southbound platform's retaining wall clings on, and the Parkhouse Road Bridge still spans the gap. Just north lies the village of Harker, which produced 2 stations. True to the law of sequels, the second station at Harker offered little spectacle. Like Parkhouse Halt, it served only RAF personnel, and whatever lingered in its shallow cutting is now long buried. The first station tells a gentler story. Closed to passengers in 1929, the building remains as a private home, while, out of sight here, the signal box has been carefully restored. For several miles, the trackbed remains intact, though off-limits, as the line drifts into open country and towards the aptly named Lyneside. Handsome in its day, Lyneside was the first, though hardly the last station, to serve little more than a scattered hamlet. Closed to passengers in 1929, it lingered for goods a while longer before succumbing in 1964. Today, it survives as a private home. North of Lyneside, the old railway gives way to a public footpath. A modest bridge, resting on the original stonework, spans the river line. Looking back towards Carlisle, the railway's imprint remains clear upon the land. Ahead, it grows fainter. The knob before the line makes a bold stride over the River Esk, carried on the bridge pictured, and presses on to its next stop. Here stood Longtown, where the green-roofed building now rises. It served the largest community since Carlisle, a claim that would hold for many miles beyond. Well equipped for both passengers and goods, the latter persisted until 1970. Our train arrives, pauses, and once more presses north. The line ahead can be traced by the hedgerow below, shadowing the River Esk as we take in the view then and now. Here, pressed between the A7 on the left and the river on the right, the woodland hides a quiet archaeology. Derelict huts. The hearths that once warmed them. And bridges surrendered to time. 2 miles from Longtown by rail lies Scotch Dyke. Closed in 1949, it echoed Lyneside in purpose, serving no true village, sustained instead by farm traffic and the odd passenger. Like Lyneside, it lives on as a private home. Beyond, the line dips towards Thistle Viaduct, just visible perhaps if your eyes are sharp. As for reaching the viaduct, your guide was thwarted, chiefly by an inquisitive herd of cows. So, we gladly make do with some fine photographs. With Scotch Dyke 2 miles behind, we reach the Riddings, now a farm, but once the site of Riddings Junction. Built as an interchange for the Langham branch, of which more shortly, it was a station of real substance. A main building, 3 platforms, 2 forming an island, ample goods facilities, and a cluster of railway cottages. Even then this was a remote outpost. There was no village. The station was the community. A few weathered structures remain, as these photographs attest. Just beyond, the elegant sweep of the little viaduct comes into view. A fine work that bore the branch north to Langham, by way of Canonby and Gilnockie. A quiet, characterful line, it closed to passengers in 1964, worthy perhaps of a documentary of its own. But our story lies with the main line, and so we press on. Much of the trackbed ahead is preserved as farm tracks, but is off limits to the public. So it is we lean into the archive footage once more. Two and a half miles beyond Ridding, we come to Penton. This was another in the pattern of handsome yet solitary stations. Like its neighbours, it served the farms and scattered homes nearby, handling modest goods and passenger traffic. Modest, but sufficient, at least until 1969, when the line itself fell silent. Beyond lies a stretch of line, 4 miles, lost to public access. Its condition is left to the imagination. Soon enough, though, the rails would carry us to Kershopefoot. 2 facing platforms, a signal box, and a goods yard. Kershopefoot had them all, and the photograph suggests an almost idyllic scene. Idyllic, perhaps, it still is on a day like this. though nothing remains save the station master's house hidden off to the left. Significantly, this was the Waverley route's last station in England. Beyond here, the rails leapt the border into Scotland. So we bid farewell to those blue-remembered hills and greet the country opening up before us. Thus it is we reach Newcastleton, the first station in many miles to serve a substantial community. The signal box once commanded the crossing and the bustle of a sizable goods yard, its chief traffic the timber drawn from surrounding forests. When news came that both station and line would be lost, Newcastleton rose in protest. Led by the local minister, villagers gathered at the crossing and locked the gates, halting the last through train, a sleeper from Edinburgh. Among its passengers was David Steele MP, who stepped down to negotiate, securing a peaceful end to the standoff. It was all in vain. A year after closure, the rails were torn up and the buildings swept away. Only the station master's house endures beside the humped road where the crossing once lay. Farewell, Newcastleton. And farewell too to the viaduct glimpsed here in the fading footage. For it, like the line itself, fell to the demolisher's hand. The echoes of protest and the clamour of demolition fade behind us, giving way to the most remote and surely the most beautiful landscape the Waverley route traversed. Two roads converge in an emerald wood. the mist casting this remotest reach of the Waverley route in an almost unearthly light. From the right comes the main line we have followed from Carlisle. From the left, the Border County Railway from Hexham via Deadwater and Kielder, and all this the setting for the most unlikely of stations, Riccarton Junction. This photograph, taken from the south in the station's final decade, captures the solitude of this far-flung outpost. Yet another view from the north, and from more prosperous years, reveals the small hamlet that once clustered around it. This colourised view brings the scene vividly to life. Note the bustling goods yard and the spread of station buildings on a scale that dwarfs many we have passed so far. Indeed, we have passed stations that served no community at all. Here was one that served a community entirely. Until its last few years, Riccarton could be reached by no road, only by rail. There were 37 houses here, a post office and a shop. Church services were first held in the engine shed, later in the waiting room. In an emergency, help came by rail. There was no doctor. Without electricity until 1955 and bereft of modern comforts, our modern sensibilities would probably recoil, Riccarton not only endured, but, by all accounts, thrived. The mid-1950s brought the first shadow of decline with the closure of the Border Counties Railway. Services along the Waverley route lingered until 1969, by which time the little community had all but vanished. From the air, looking south to north, the station's remnants lie hidden beneath a tangle of lush, ungoverned green. The one unmistakable survivor is the old generator room. A closer look shows the island platform still discernible beneath the growth. Unseen in this footage lie the derelict remains of the station master's house. The old schoolhouse and its classroom endure as the last inhabited dwelling in this once self-contained world. There have been efforts now and then to preserve the site and honour its history, but the remoteness of Riccarton Junction has always worked against such ambitions. Still, the installation of this running-in board is a fitting, affectionate gesture. Our cinefilm footage shows the station at the end of its days. Goodbye, Riccarton Junction. Our business now is north. It has been some time since we last saw rails, but here at Whitrope they return long after their lifting decades ago. Before us lies an eclectic trove of relics, footbridges, signals, mileposts, even rolling stock. Yes, you have come across fabled lands where myths go when they die. All belong to the Waverley Route Heritage Association, whose mission is to preserve these fragments and keep the line's memory alive. Among the remotest heritage railway sites in Britain, it is utterly enchanting and well worth the pilgrimage. Here at Whitrope, the line reached its summit, some 1,000 feet above sea level, marking the end of a gruelling climb. Beyond the Heritage Centre stands the south portal of Whitrope Tunnel. At 1,208 yards, it ranks among Scotland's longest. But a major collapse near the southern end has sealed it, likely forever. The railway wound northward, threading cuttings, cresting embankments, and clinging to the curves of the hills. In so doing, trains would arrive at the next station, Shankend. The former station house sits tucked atop the embankment, another lonely outpost serving no settlement of note. To the south, the station's signal box, restored after long years of neglect, stands sentinel once more. From its vantage we glimpse the scene as it was, a pageant of traffic passing through this most picturesque of places. We take our leave, and almost at once are met by one of the Waverley route's most imposing works, Shankend Viaduct. Our penultimate stop before Hawick is Stobs. Like so many along the route, its station house now serves as a private home. In its working years, Stobs led a quiet existence, its name chosen in the hope of luring visitors to the nearby castle. Only during the 2 World Wars did the station truly stir to life, when troop movements and supplies brought a rare urgency to its platforms. Just north of the station lay an army training camp. To the southwest, an internment camp for German prisoners during the First World War. Its traces are still etched upon the land, as this satellite view shows, and recalled in stone by this memorial. We depart, and, as at Shankend, soon find ourselves upon another fine structure, Barnes Viaduct, smaller but no less striking. Today, the Waverley route's course is not always graced with such grandeur, and some of its marvels have vanished altogether, among them the once proud Slit-Rig Viaduct. The line swings northeast here, and part of its course can still be walked through the southern edge of Hawick, leading us to the crest of an embankment that once bore the rails into the town. Proceeding along what is now Mart Street, the railway once swept across the River Teviot on a northeasterly curve. Today, fragments of that crossing remain, bridge abutments clinging to the north bank, and in midstream the stubborn stone piers that once shouldered the weight of iron, stone, timber and trains. Hawick Railway Station, the largest on the route since Carlisle, and for many miles around a vital hub, opened in 1849. Distinguished by elegant Italianate architecture, it offered 2 platforms, a busy goods yard, and even a locomotive turntable. This was no mere halt. Hawick thrummed with passenger traffic and freight, particularly the town's famed textiles and livestock. All gone now, all gone. Where the station once rose proudly, a leisure centre now stands, an emblem of change where rails once ruled. The railway's easterly exit from town now serves a humbler purpose, a foot and cycle path. The course of the line is drawn straight towards the Lens, our vantage point high upon the old embankment that gazes over Burnfoot Road. Look closely and the ghosts of the permanent way still linger. Fragments of ballast crunch beneath the grass. Boundary fences stubbornly hold their line. And here, half forgotten, a hallowed monument reclines in silence. Yet beyond this point, the privilege of passage falters. Scotland's right to roam finds scant reward here, where the way is waterlogged, overgrown and closed. Still, hints remain, such as the presence of this agricultural crossing. And from its crown, the unwavering straightness of the trackbed vanishing into the distance. From thence, across a commanding embankment, once pierced by a bridge to appease landowners and their livestock. From above, Hawick lies diminished in the rear view. And further out, the soft green swell of the Minto Hills draws the eye, the direction our railway steadfastly pursues. The lines slip beneath a modest bridge near Hassendean Burn Farm. And then this fine lattice footbridge, a fragment of Victorian artistry now stranded in nature's wild embrace. In the middle distance, the trees betray a secret, their rank and file, left to right, tracing the iron road long gone. And if that hint proves too subtle, this bridge speaks with greater clarity. 4 miles north of Hawick, Hassendean Station slumbered on the quiet edge of nowhere. The station had a distinctive layout with 2 staggered platforms connected by a wooden footbridge braced with iron. The upline platform housed a substantial 2-storey stone building that served as the main station office and access point, while the down platform featured a simple wooden shelter beneath an awning. Today, its spirit lingers as a handsome private dwelling, a thoughtful homage to its former life. Beyond the road bridge, the line fades into farm track and field, surrendering its domain to the plough. Like its cousin, Hassendean, Belses served a scattered rural populace. Opened in 1849 as New Belses, it shed its prefix in 1862, its 2 platforms and goods yard lingering until 1964. Reduced to an unstaffed halt in 1967, it vanished from the timetables by January 1969. Today, the site hides behind hedgerow and tree, its buildings lingering in part, mute relics of steam and semaphore. Eastward still, the railway made a long northern arc at Long Newton. The trackbed here lies sodden, a green morass that whispers of drainage long neglected. From above, we see where the railway cleaves through the countryside. Here, at last, the ground is firm enough to hold our feet where trains once came to rest. Charlesfield Halt. Born of war in August 1942, it served the nearby munitions works, and later an armaments depot, though farmers too found it a friend. Its life was brief. Closure came in 1961, and now the earth wears no memory of platform or passengers. But northward, the past still asserts itself. A bridge, proud and unbroken, vaults the trackbed, a stone sentinel for a vanished cause. From this height, the line steals northeast, then bends true north once more. Among the shadowed woods beyond, the Kelso branch joined the main line at its aptly named junction, as seen in this footage. Onward, the rails once ran across pasture. Vaulted Langbrae Bridge, and came to ground at St Boswells, the name of weight in Waverley lore. In its prime, these stations sprawled, platforms flanking the road, a goods yard to the north, its sidings threading a timber shed. Later, the yard thrust east to embrace the southern central market. But time's ledger marked its end. The goods shed closed in 1959, passengers banished in January 1969, and by April, the last wagons rattled out, bound for memory. Now the site lies transformed. Transformed, yet not wholly effaced. One water tower, upright and unbowed, defies the years. Behind it, the engine shed persists, a granite elder in patient repose. Across the way, the old station hotel keeps vigil, its stones weathered, but its dignity intact. From here, road usurps rail, tarmac smothers the trackbed's long pulse. Thank goodness for the archive footage that has enriched this journey, courtesy of the Waverley Route DVD from Video Scene, which so vividly breathes life into the past. Explore their website, and if this film has whetted your appetite, delve into their remarkable catalogue. A mile hence, an occupation bridge peers through the trees, casting its gaze upon the cutting ahead. The railway proceeded towards us and took an almost 90-degree turn west. Here at Ravenwood Junction, the Duns branch broke away, a fork to fields and forgotten sidings. But the main line continued through the valley, now shadowed by the A6091 and the River Tweed. Here, near Invisible, the site of Newstead Station, a ghost of timetables past. Born in 1849, dead by 1852, only a brief whisper of a platform. But a mile ahead, grandeur breathes anew. We come upon it without herald or warning and rejoice. Melrose Station, jewel of what remains of the Waverley crown, its Tudor Gothic finery, steep gables, pointed arches, carved stone, still enchants. Closed in 1969, but never truly gone. Repurposed, yes. Diminished, never. Road has replaced rail where the down platform once stood, and into which we arrive. But the up platform has benefited from care and attention. And the site is littered with relics and allusions to its past. Beyond Melrose, the line's voice falters, drowned by the A-road's ceaseless roar. And yet, endings are illusions. For here, 60 miles from Carlisle, the Waverley line is renewed. Tweedbank, rebirth. Terminus or threshold as you will, from this point the Borders Railway stretches its sinews northward, an echo of the Waverley, remade for a new age. Opened in 2015 by Her Majesty the Queen and branded as the Borders Railway, it is the UK's longest new domestic railway in over a century, reinstating 30 miles of the former Waverley route between Edinburgh and Tweedbank.
So now, to the business in hand, it is my very happy duty to declare the Borders Railway open.
Costing approximately £350 million, it is built largely along the original alignment. The project required over 160 bridges, new tunnels and major earthworks to meet modern standards, restoring a vital link lost to the beaching cuts in 1969. Let us traverse this last stretch then, where today's cab view intertwines with echoes from the archive and still images from the past. As we saw at Newcastleton, the closure of the Waverley route was protested along its length and beyond. Nevertheless, it fell victim to the beaching cuts of the 1960s, where it was condemned as uneconomical in an era of rising car ownership and the shifting of freight to the roads. Its long, rural stretch with sparsely used stations proved costly to maintain, and it was deemed redundant beside the East Coast Main Line. Thus, in January 1969, the last train departed, leaving the Borders without a railway for nearly half a century. A new chapter may yet unfold for the Waverley route. Today, the Borders Railway ends at Tweedbank, but a £10 million feasibility study, jointly funded by the UK and Scottish governments, aims to explore extending the line south to Carlisle. Advocates see economic revival and restored connectivity for towns like Hawick, while critics warn of costs, technical hurdles and built-over sections. Whether heritage can meet modern ambition remains the question. But whatever the future holds, the legacy of the Waverley route lives on. It is a testament, a resurrection, a pledge that the past may yet speak in the tongue of the present, and a line that leaves us to marvel at what is, and the dream of what may be. I hope you enjoyed this film. Please do like, share, comment, subscribe and click your notification bell. If you feel you can support this channel further, do consider buying me a coffee, details in the description below. And join me again so that we may continue rediscovering lost railways.